Okay, let us stand. If we have anyone from the audience would like to lead us in prayer, you would do so. Anybody, volunteers?
I'd be glad to.
Okay, Ms. Robin.
Our Father God in heaven, Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to come tonight to make decisions, Lord, about things that affect our students. God, we just ask that you give us wisdom, that you help us to truly seek what is best in every situation. God, we ask that as we seek you, Lord, as you guide us, that the outcomes would glorify you in some way. God, we just thank you for the dedicated employees that we have. God, for teachers who are willing to try new things. God, for administrators who are working so hard to get school started right now. Lord, for coaches and custodial staff and secretaries, Lord, every person that goes to school each day to provide an education for our kids. We just thank you for that. God, we ask that you keep your hedge of protection around us as we go through this year. And we know it's scary. We know that there are parents who are afraid for the children. We ask that you just help us to look out for the safety of their children while they're in our care. We pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Let's pray to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting is now called to order, and welcome to the Monday, August 3rd, 2020 school board meeting. And for the record, just want to recognize everyone present. We have in the district office, board members Carol Gibson, board member Bart Alford, Reggie Daniels, and remotely we have board members Soretta Bell and Susie Williamson. Also in the district office, we have board attorney Tommy Reeves, superintendent Shirley Joseph, Mr. Isaac Goyette, Ms. Becky Bishop, Ms. Robin Hill, Dr. Blue, Coach Mike Cole, and Mr. Finley. I think I covered everybody. All right. Amendments to the agenda, 2.1. We're going to pull or add 2.1, pull it down to items for individual consideration, be 5.5. Permission to advertise face mask policy will be 5.5. Items for individual consideration. And item 5.3, we're going to pull that one from the agenda until a later date. Going to pull item 5.3, supplemental positions. All right, public comment. All right, for the record, there will be no public comment for the agenda items. Consent agenda items. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items by Ms. Carol Gibson, seconded by Ms. Soretta Bell. Would there be a need for discussion? All in favor? Ms. Gibson?
I approve.
Mr. Alford?
Approve.
Ms. Williamson?
Approve.
Ms. Bell?
Approve.
And also approve 5-0. Motion approved and adopted. Consent agenda items have been approved. Items for individual consideration. 5.1, attendance at fall sporting events. Ms. Shirley Joseph.
Okay, as you know, COVID has affected all aspects of education. And one of the things that Madison County is known for are the athletics. And that is something that we have a lot of kids participating in. We believe in athletics, but we also believe in keeping our kids safe. And so Mr. Finley, who is the principal of the high school, and Coach Cole, who is the athletic director for the high school, they're going to present their return to play plan for the sports at Madison County High School.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for having us here to represent the high school in our return to games plan for both football and volleyball. Do you all happen to have a copy? There's a copy coming around,
Yep, it's coming around.
and we'll read through it together.
What about Ms. Bell?
I got an email.
In this conversation, this meeting began with Ms. Joseph alerting us on top of our safe return to schools plan, our safe return to practice plans, that we definitely needed a safe return to games plan. So as soon as we got the email, we met as a team and developed the plan. You can see here for our home varsity football games, the maximum capacity that we can have at a game is 3,500 people. Go ahead.
Can you start with the part where FHSAA has pushed back the start date? Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
what he's
You
doing?
want to speak a little bit to that? All right, Coach Cole will.
So the Board of Directors of FHSA, been about 2 weeks now, they push it back. For right now, the start of practice is August 24th. Football Advisory Committee met last Wednesday, which I'm a member of that, one of 9 coaches in the state. And we voted 9-0 to accept they had 3 options. We accepted the first option. I can email all of you that if you need it or want it. They are proposing September 11th start date for games, but the advisory committee asked that we start September the 4th with some type of scrimmage or classic or something like that where we could work through our protocols with everything new that we're having to do, whether it be a home game or we have to travel and get on a bus and all those new things we're having to do with COVID. The Athletic Director Advisory Committee will meet, I believe, August the 10th, next Monday morning, and then the Board of Directors will meet again on August the 14th, which is next Friday. So by the 14th, we should know where that's headed, but everything I've been told is looking good right now that proposal is accepted. They also sent out a 30-page manual that also was part of help making. I'm very proud to say that the FHSA took our locker room plan and used it verbatim for the state of Florida's. And it's not mandates, it's just suggestions. We drew from Ohio, we drew from Alabama, drew from several different states, and then mixed in some of our own. But the FHSA used our locker room plan for dressing for practice and dressing back in after practice and games for the manual for the whole state of Florida.
Coach Cole, will you explain to the public what the start of practice means? Remember when we first got in this, I did not understand this.
Yes, ma'am. So there's an acclimatization period. The policy for FHSA states that after 6 practices, you can legally play a game. That is not the route that we took. You have 2 days in helmets and shorts, and then you will have 3 days in shells, uppers. Let me explain that. That's helmets and shoulder pads, no pants, which we use a lot anyway. We practice like that a lot just for heat purposes and things that we try not to go to the ground a whole bunch at practice to prevent injuries and stuff like that. And then after the 6th day, the 4th day in shells, you can then get into full pads. If they approve the 9/4 start date, that will give us 2 weeks to get ready for a classic or a scrimmage, something of that nature. If it's the 9/11 start date, it will give us 3 weeks. But we feel like since they push everything back and most people are working out and outside, like our whole workout is outside. We don't go in the building at all. So our kids are outside for a little over 2 hours in the sun and in the heat. So we feel like our kids will be acclimated already as far as that goes. But on the 14th, we will know exactly where that's headed. Good? Any questions? Good?
Okay.
Okay, back to our return to games plan. In our stadium, we can hold 3,500 fans. We met as a team and decided to have limited capacity on a given home game night. And with that, we talked about an allotment of 200 tickets for our visitors, 200 tickets for students. And those students are our students, Madison County High School students, those 200. General admission would be 400 tickets. That would be adults and non-Madison County High School students. Staff, we have an allotment of 30 tickets. The Marshall Club is at 200. And then each football player, band member, and cheerleader, along with their coaches, would receive or have an opportunity to purchase 6 tickets for their family, for a total of 620. When you add all those together, we're at 1,650 spectators. And when you take the percentage, we're at 47% capacity, so just under 50%. Some recommended safety procedures. We discussed pre-selling tickets to avoid the long lines the night of the game. We also do not want to risk having to turn people away and having folks upset. But so along with the safety measures of social distancing and being in the customer service industry, we decided that we wanted to pre-sell tickets. Those are going to be available. We have partnered with Ace Hardware, and they're available Monday through Friday at noon. The cutoff will be noon on Friday for general admission. We're going to pre-sell tickets to our students Monday through Wednesday. We decided on a cutoff of Wednesday midweek, and we're going to let our students know that we have 200 tickets available. If we do not sell out, then we're going to roll those over to general admission and offer them the opportunity to purchase them. One special note to be aware of, we are not charging for parking this year. For entering the stadium, we're going to have all students enter through the double gate next to the field house. They must have a student ticket to enter. This allows them to be closer to their designated seating area. And the area we're going to utilize is the old band area, and we'll talk about where band's going to be seated in just a moment. But the old band area and the old student section, both sections will be used for students. So we'll easily be able to fit 200 students in those two areas. Marshall Club members and general admission ticket holders will enter through the main double gate at the north end zone. And there's plenty of space there for social distancing. All players, band, and cheer family members will enter through the smallest gate near the restrooms, and we're going to enforce social distancing there with a single file line entering the stadium. And this will operate similar to a will call at an NCAA sporting event. Our concession stands, we will have staff working, and they will be required to wear a mask and gloves, and we'll have hand sanitizer available to all of the customers at the registers. Now, one thing we discuss, and we want to clarify here, we will sell drinks at a separate stand, but we also talked about if someone wants to buy food and drinks to avoid them having to go through 2 lines, they can come to the main concession stand they can get their food and drinks. But for those customers or those fans that just want to drink, there'll be a separate drink stand to help us cut down on the number of folks standing in line and waiting to be served. Our restrooms, we're going to have a custodian on staff that night of the game, the JV games and the varsity games, and we want them to deep clean the restrooms after each quarter, or the beginning of each quarter, because the majority of fans are going to run to the restroom in between quarters. So at the beginning of each quarter, they'll clean, and at the conclusion of the game. They're also going to be expected to keep the bathroom stocked with soap and paper towels. Our band's going to perform in a separate seat of bleachers. The softball bleachers are going to be moved over.
Softball visitor, please.
Sorry, softball visitor bleachers. We're going to put our band secluded in those bleachers near the field house.
South, yes, sir.
Okay, on the south end near the field house. We felt like that was a safety precaution that was necessary with blowing into the instruments and avoiding having folks all around them. I'm not a musician, but I can only imagine what comes out of those instruments. Teams will not conduct post-game handshakes. No family, friends, or spectators are going to be allowed on the field or in the field house grassy area near the team to ensure the safety and well-being of the student athletes and the coaches. And then all spectators will be expected to depart immediately after the game to avoid congregating in the parking lot. JV football games will begin selling tickets 1 hour before kickoff to give those spectators and family members plenty of time to get in while social distancing with the same safety procedures as a varsity football game on Friday nights. For volleyball, the maximum capacity is 800. So our proposed allotment of tickets is 50 for visitors, 50 for students, 100 for general admission and family, 30 for staff, for 230. That puts us at 29% capacity. And we will begin selling those tickets 1 hour before that JV game begins.
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Going back to the capacity of the stadium, are we going to allow our fans to sit on the visitor side?
We discussed that. We know some teams travel well, others do not. So we will utilize the space
You're
available.
only going to give the visitors 200 tickets.
Right. So there's going to be plenty of space for overflow if needed
So we
for our
will
home
be
fans.
using the other side.
We will be using the other side. Yes, ma'am.
Does that mean that you're putting 825 on one side and 825 on the other side?
Not necessarily, because
Because-
we do, go ahead.
Well, no, that's what because you said there's going to be a total of 1650. So that would be 1650 total. And
Right.
I would think that you would split them up and make use of both sides.
Are you familiar
Was there a
with-
reason for that?
Our concern was people from another town, not from our town, and us intermingling with them and possibly getting the virus. You understand what I'm saying? That was our concern with allowing our people. We normally don't, we try to limit that to begin with, but that was our concern, was our community going and getting it from somebody from Swanee or whoever. Right now, we only have 3 home games because of how we went from 6 to 3
Oh, okay.
because of the FHSA. We've lost 3 home games right off the bat.
Okay, well, I'm very impressed with the plan. I think you covered all your bases. That's the only thing I'm questioning is
2
the,
of the 3 home games?
So, right, South Sumter, just got them today. St. Pete Lakewood, but they could be in a bubble like Leon County.
Right.
I'll know that in a week or two. And then Denellen, who could also be in a bubble in Marion County. So we could be
3 tough ones.
sitting there with,
So would those 3 bring a lot, you think, or?
no, but originally our home schedule was a little, like Jefferson County
Right.
was coming week 2, and so Wakulla and Taylor County were
Would've
coming
brought-
the kickoff class.
Yeah.
And so we were just worried about intermingling our community with other
Right.
communities. It's not real good to begin with,
Right.
on a game night.
You do have a few Madison people who do sit over there when, last year when I worked the concession stand on that side, you do have a few people from the community that do sit on the visitor side. I mean,
Well,
I think I would ask if we go that route, could we get a fence put up down the middle and say, this is where the visitors sit? And, I mean, it's our stadium, we can do what we want as far as that goes. You know, could we section it off at least?
That will give us more space
That's what I'm-
to social distance.
Yes, ma'am.
And some people may.
Especially only gonna
yeah.
give them 200 seats,
Yes, ma'am.
unless you want to increase the number of tickets they have.
I'll be shocked if South Sumter may bring, but
Yeah.
the other two, I don't know that they'll bring.
In the past years of like playoff games, that would be
Yes.
the one that would have the large number probably there.
We can
I
get
just
some
have-
portable barricades to put down there. I wouldn't want necessarily a fence, but it could be something so we could easily remove them. Look at that, and that way that'll give us a higher seating capacity. We could spread them out a little more.
I feel better about that, and give them the options. I think some of them would choose that
I
option.
would think we need to do general public. I wouldn't want to put our students
No,
on the visitors.
no.
Oh, okay. Well,
I just had a
Just
question,
general.
Coach, in regards to the pregame, where the teams, where would they be located, and how would that work
So
out?
for
Pregame
home or
and-
visitor, or for both?
For both, and halftime as well.
So for visitors, we normally put them in the JV locker room, but what we're going to do is open up the gym, and we'll have the plastic or the rubber flooring. We'll get that down where we don't mark up the floor, and they can use the two bathrooms up front. We'll limit everything going back. They won't be allowed back there. They can use the two bathrooms in the front lobby of the gym, but there'll be plenty of room to social distance there. For us, we're going to have, so pregame meal, Ms. Joseph brought this up. We're going to do everything in to-go trays, and basically 9 kids at a time with basically keep the groups we have them in now for summer workouts. And then we will split them up accordingly. We'll use the weight room and the field house, and we can use the room across the hall from my office to put several. Pre-game's the only thing where it gets a little tricky, to keep them in groups of 9. But we can keep them separate on opposite sides of the room and things like that.
Ms. Williamson, Ms. Bell, do you all have questions for Coach Cole or Mr. Finley?
I don't, but I appreciate all the hard work you did to come up with a plan to keep the kids safe.
I want to thank all the hard work. I mean, this is a lot of work in trying to figure this all out.
I feel better knowing that they have the option of going to either side, other than the students, you said, keep them over. Yeah, that's,
That'd be easy.
Yep, I also agree. I think the plan looks good, and we appreciate all of the effort that you put into it. I know it's been tedious, so we commend you for doing a wonderful job. And I know we understand how things change from day to day, and we're waiting on that meeting, or those meetings coming down the pipe for the FSHAA. And so, as of right now, looking good, I think.
Okay,
You'll probably need a motion second to approve,
Yeah.
right?
yes.
Yeah, so we've been advised to go ahead and adopt this particular plan see if we're for or against. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the fall sporting events plan.
second.
Second,
All right, properly moved in second. There'll be a need for discussion. All in favor? Ms. Gibson?
I approve.
Mr. Alford?
Approve.
Ms. Williamson?
approve,
Ms. Bell?
approve,
And I also approve 5-0. The MCHS Return to Home Games Plan has been approved. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Be
Thank you.
safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you leave, we're gonna leave it up to you to advertise to the public that we have limited seating so they can purchase their tickets ahead of, so it won't be a shock to them. Okay, thank you.
Do we need, Ms. Joseph, do we need a separate plan for the central school, or how? For their
I don't
school?
think they have that problem.
Okay, they don't have enough people showing up.
They don't have that problem.
Okay.
I would think with them, they follow the JV model, because that's normally, about what they average.
Okay.
Okay. All right, 5.2, school choice presentation. Ms. Robin Hill.
Who's that?
Oh.
Wanted to update the board on the return to school instructional plan. We've gone through a lot of changes over the past few weeks. It's been challenging. We're a school district of not quite 2,000 traditional school students. This coming year, the numbers are going to look a lot different. We have over 600 students that will be doing some type of virtual instruction. And so I wanted to go over the different options with you tonight because I know that you've gotten a lot of questions. And so I wanted to be able to give you information so that as you're talking with parents, and you could answer their questions. First of all, we're going to start with just our traditional instruction like we always have. Even that will be different this year. We entered into a contract with Florida Virtual School to provide our coursework for us this year. The reason behind that is there are going to be times when we may have to quarantine a class or a group within a class or even a teacher. If we have to do that, then we wanted a curriculum that students could access from home and still be able to work and get their assignments done from home. And so they may not even be sick, but because they had to quarantine, they have to stay at home. And so, you know, in the event that we have to close down a classroom or quarantine a teacher or a school or the district, we wanted a curriculum that would be seamless for students who would have to be out and then come back, possibly be out again, however that works. And so by contracting with Florida Virtual School, we are able to use their coursework and continue the educational process even if the students or the teacher are not at school. And so we really felt like this would be a lot better than what we did last year. We worked hard to pull together an online curriculum last year to get us through the year, but it definitely wasn't the ideal situation. This situation will be much better. We are still keeping some of our supplementals like iReady. We will continue to use that. Teachers will use that as their one of their supplementals for interventions. We will be using MobyMax, Achieve 3000, and then in K-5, each of the schools will be using the leveled literacy intervention. So we're still going to provide interventions using what we had currently been using, but for the core curriculum, we wanted to provide something that was easily accessible online. We also wanted to look at, yeah, I saw it. Trying to make sure that teachers will have access to a learning management platform. Last year, when we had to go home and everybody was working from home, we were piecing things together. This coming year, thank goodness, we are able to move to Canvas, which is a learning management platform that all the teachers will be using to push information out to their students. It's also a neat program because students can take tests using it. We've used Google Classroom in the past for teachers to post assignments and things for students, but this will be a much better situation than trying to use Google Classroom.
So Beth, you use that to communicate to the students, the teachers communicate via the Canvas?
Yes, ma'am. So I was trying to not have to do the cord around, but here we go. Okay. So looking at the numbers, there we go. Madison County High School this coming year, at the current time, it's looking at having 349 students at the school for traditional instruction. They have a little over 520 enrolled, but the rest of those students will be doing virtual. So we're hoping that this will help with classroom spacing and being able to social distance because there will be less students at the school. At Central, we're looking at about 600 students that will be at the school. At Lee, they're right at 180. That's down about 20 students from what we had projected for them. So about 20 are doing virtual. Pinetta's got about 140 who will be going to school, and Greenville will have right at 70, between 73 to 75. So total, we'll have about 1,340 students who will be doing face-to-face instruction out of a little over 1,950 for the district. We wanted to make sure that we had something in line in case, folks have to go home. We know that not everybody will have computer access. We saw that back in the spring, and we will have packets available if we have to shut down or quarantine someone who does not have internet access. So most of the people who have signed up, of course, have internet access, good internet access, but the ones who are coming to school, some of them are coming to school because they don't have internet access. So we'll have to work with them like we did last year. When we talk about virtual learning, we have set up what's called the Madison Distance Learning Academy. This is option number one. If you hear parents talk about the options, this is option number one. And for this option, the students will be provided with Madison teachers using the FLVS course content. We are having to use a few Florida Virtual School teachers for some electives, but that's not very many. And this option runs from 8 o'clock until 3 o'clock. We understand that there are some parents who this option does not fit for them because they're not at home with their children during the day. And so we have another option that's available for them. But let me explain why we set this for 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. The way that state funds virtual courses is through a traditional virtual program is you get paid after the students complete the course successfully, which means that data goes in with Survey 4, which happens over the summer. So we don't get any money for those students until the summer. And if we tried to do that for all 600 students, we would probably go bankrupt before the end of the school year because we wouldn't be getting FTE during the year. DOE has worked out a way for us to apply for having an innovative instruction plan, and we submitted this for approval. to qualify for the innovative instruction plan. But to do that, we must provide face or live instruction to students virtually. So just like if a student was at school, the student has to log on to his or her class and participate in the class real time. And that's how we'll take attendance. And so, yes, it's the student will have a first period class, a second period class, a third period class, and at the beginning of that class, they have to be logged on to be counted present. And so that way, you know, the state will approve us to get the seat time FTE funding. And so the goal is to, we got to get that funding, but we also want to make sure that we're providing instruction to students.
Right.
One of the reasons why students struggled back in the spring was because there was very limited use of real-time instruction. Most of it was computer-driven, and students could log on and request help from their teachers, but it wasn't like a real class where the teacher was teaching and presenting a lesson every day for that period. And so this is going to be very different from the virtual instruction that we offered at the end of the school year. It will be much better instruction because there will be a live person teaching. And so we're excited to be able to do that, and part of that comes because we have that, we are investing in that learning management system that will help us to provide that conferencing ability. So anyway, we will be able to keep attendance. We will be able to provide that live instruction for students so that hopefully they won't struggle as much. And we shouldn't see students going backwards in their learning like we saw during the spring. Students are given multiple opportunities in this curriculum to try to fix things that they might have messed up on the first time. We realize that they're not there in the classroom practicing with the teacher. They will be able to practice and get input from the teacher because the teacher will be logged on the whole time of the class. But we want to also provide students with multiple opportunities to master the content. So students will be given several opportunities to show proficiency. This particular model is different, but we feel like it's the better choice for students educationally. Right now, let me go back. Over the weekend, we had 267 students from K to 5 who were signed up for this option. In grades 6 to 8, 157. In grades 9 to 12, we had 138, for a total of 562 students for option 1.
So Ms. Hill,
Yes.
a kindergartner signed up for option 1 would be online from 8 to 3?
So the way that works is they have to log on at the beginning of the class period. The teacher presents the lesson. Then it may be that they switch out of the live video conference and they have to practice. And so it's not that the student is there, you know, logged into what the teacher's saying for an hour, but the teacher will set it up so that there's, for a kindergartner, maybe 15, 20 minutes of instruction on this activity. Okay, now I want you to go and practice. And a lot of the practice is electronic because that gives the teacher feedback very quickly. There may be some of it. There's some handwriting things that they have to just do. Then they have to take a picture of it and submit it to the teacher. So it's not necessarily that they are 100% online the whole time. There are activities that they'll have to do where they will, you know, log off and actually do something on paper. So it's going to be a mixture, but it is there will be a lot of sitting at the computer. Unfortunately, that's virtual education. But
the difference from this and what we had in the spring was they will have to be there from 8 to, during that time, they can't wait to do it or go uptown and go here, go there.
right.
Decide, oh, I'll work on this later. It's going to have to be.
Exactly. And now, this will be just like a school day.
Right.
We report attendance. If a student is present, like at the central school, at least 3 periods, they are considered present for the day. So we want them to be logged on every period, but if something happens and, they miss a period here, they miss a period there, as long as they get in at least 3 periods a day, they're considered present.
And it sounds like, especially for the younger children, an adult should be present, to assist and oversee this.
Oh, yes, ma'am. We put on everything that we published that the students need adult supervision.
Definitely.
And most parents that I've talked to, and I've talked to a lot, they do have someone lined up. The person's not a teacher, and they say that, and that's fine. We're going to provide the instruction. There just has to be someone to help the student stay focused and doing their work.
I have a question. Got this today. If not necessarily, say for instance, if you're at, say one of your outline schools, Pinetta, Lee, or Greenville, and you were to decide to do virtual, not necessarily will you have a teacher from that school. It could be a teacher from the virtual, and would there still be a need for you to be kept on the dojo at that school, or?
What we're doing is we have to put the students under specific school, especially when it comes to accountability. So our K to 8 students are all going to be listed under the Madison County Central School, because that is where about 90% of the students come from. So we are taking the outline schools students who want to do virtual, and in the computer, they are listed under Madison County Central School. We have teachers from across the district who are teaching virtual classes. We have 2 from Lee, 2 from Greenville, 2 from Pinetta. They're mixed in with all the other teachers, K to 8. And so, a student could get any one of those teachers based on the grade level. And so we've tried to keep teachers at a grade level where they're very comfortable. And I think, we've accomplished that so far. So a student from Pinetta may have a teacher from Lee or Greenville or the Central School, because they are all right now listed under the Central School. Now, we did have a cutoff to sign up for virtual, and we're still getting calls every day about how do I sign my child up. We are full. We can't take any more virtual school students. And so what we're telling parents now is you can sign up with Florida Virtual School. Now, Florida Virtual also had a cutoff date for full-time students, and so the only way to sign up for Florida Virtual right now is through their Flex program, which they do not allow students to take 6 classes through their Flex program. They take 3, and when they finish those 3, they can take 3 more. And so the students would have to, work hard to take those first 3, finish by the end of the first 9 weeks, and then take the next 3, so that they get to the end of the semester with a semester's worth of coursework, during that time. So, but to do that, the students do have to sign up for homeschool, and then they can take the Florida Virtual School Flex courses. But we're overwhelmed with what we have right now, and we're desperately trying to get everything set up and getting the students placed where they want to be placed. And so the deadline for making any changes was this past Friday.
But back to the Dojo question, if you're on the virtual, then there's no need for you being on Dojo at that school because your guidance will be coming from this teacher who theoretically could be at Central.
Right, they would not be listed
Right.
under that previous
And they
school.
probably would use Canvas if they're,
Yes.
as their means of communication.
Individual teachers can use Dojo.
Right.
Because
But that
it's,
teacher, whoever was teaching the virtual, would Dojo them
yes,
from
yes.
wherever she's.
Exactly.
Or he's.
Yeah, because Dojo is based on the course that
Right.
you're assigned to. And so while the students, might be from Pinetta, they won't be on any Pinetta course list. Now, we have asked that the principal and that the MTSS people follow their students when they go to Central in the virtual program, because here's an example, Greenville is only going to have 73 students. And so those students still belong to them even though they're doing virtual. Their principal is going to have to track them, they're going to have to track attendance and contact parents, make sure that they are staying up, with the attendance and the grades and things. When we have to have a sit meeting, it will be the personnel from the school where they came from that will oversee the sit process. Also the IEPs and that kind of thing.
So if we have a child move in to the district, let's say in October, their only option is going to be the brick and mortar school, right? Because the other ones would be.
Yeah, honestly, we haven't talked about that. If they're coming from another virtual program, what we did in the spring was we asked them to stay with that virtual program.
Think about that.
And we allowed,
They were already, they could
yeah,
just.
other districts
Oh, okay. Think about it.
allowed our students to stay with our virtual
Yeah, yeah.
program until the next semester,
Okay.
which was the end of the school year last year.
It's a new way of thinking.
It-
It really is.
It's vastly different. So another option that parents had is My District Virtual. That is where we contract with the North Florida Education Consortium to provide the teachers for the virtual school. And we pay $50 per course for the students to register, and then if they successfully complete, we pay another $250 for that course. So, but for that, we don't earn the FTE until the summer after the students complete. When,
So we're out 50 irregardless. If they successfully complete it, we would do a pass-through of the other.
yes,
And so at the end, we would get 300. We would get the 50 we've already paid plus the 250.
right, right.
But these are not our teachers, though, right?
These are not our
These are
teachers.
strictly teachers in Florida
Right,
someplace.
right. But now I will say this, we get to keep a little bit of the FTE, but the majority of it we pay to NEFAC, yeah.
So that would be who we're having to refer to now if we have anyone come in and say they want to
Well, we're not even referring there anymore because they're
full.
overwhelmed. And so we have allowed parents to do that up until this past Friday. Now, our Distance Learning Academy, the deadline was back a couple weeks ago. And so for the past 2 weeks, we've allowed parents to sign up for My District Virtual. Again, NEFAC teachers, computer-driven. It's not live instruction because it's self-paced and the students can do it whenever they want. So for those parents who are not at home with their children during the day, but they can work on it in the evenings, this is an option for them. We know that the course content, it's Apex, and that's something that we used last year for the high school when we, after spring break, when we had to go distance learning. Like I said, it's self-paced. The students can work anytime. They can work at 12 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock in the morning. They go at their own pace. it is not live instruction, so it is a little more difficult sometimes, and definitely the students would need to have an adult helping them with that. So if a student needs help, they contact the teacher and they set up a one-on-one phone call or Zoom session, but it is only as needed. So it's a different option. It may work better for some parents, but to me, it's not as good an educational option as having that live instruction. We have 43 K-5 students who have signed up for that, 12 6 to 8, and 11 9 to 12. I will tell you, I've had about 10 more that had responded over the weekend that I have to add to this. So it's probably up to about 76 now.
So if my math's right, we're at 32% are going to be virtual?
Yes, sir. Which is actually a lot lower than other districts I've talked to.
I've been hearing 50%.
Yes.
Some other
50, 60% in some other districts, yeah. But now those tend to be further south where they have more cases also.
The 1971, the total students,
Uh-huh.
how does that compare to last year? Are some students just totally out of our system and signed up?
We have had more, well, it's kind of been a trade-off. We've had students come back from homeschool because we were offering the virtual this way. We've also had some that have gone to homeschool because they didn't get signed up in time. So that kind of balances out. We're pretty close to where we were last year. FTE-wise, we're actually up a little bit from what we projected because we had projected to go down.
But then the 66 is not included in our
Those
budget,
66,
so-
we're not going to get much money out of those. So FTE-wise, we're going to drop down from last year. We talked about this. We are referring parents to Florida Virtual School. When the parents go to Florida Virtual School, they are not Madison County students, public school students anymore. They are either homeschool students or full-time virtual. They're not Madison County teachers. We don't get any of the FTE. But those students are on the same pacing guide because they're using the FLVS curriculum that we will be using. So if they decide to come back in January, we should be at the same place. So those are the options. I hope I explained those to you good enough. That we spent a lot of time trying to, put all this together. We're still working on it. We don't have the Florida Virtual School courses loaded into Canvas yet. We're trying. We're pushing as hard as we can. But a lot of districts are wanting that kind of thing, and so the tech people for Canvas and Florida Virtual School are all backed up and trying to get to us as quickly as possible. It's kind of like ordering the supplies. We're trying to get the partitions, the plexiglass partitions installed, but we're not going to have those probably until the week we start school. And so the maintenance guys will get on that and they'll get them installed as quickly as possible. It's just hard to get the stuff. So I'm grateful that we have pushed back school until the 24th because that's buying us some extra time to get the curriculum ready, get the safety precautions ready, all of that.
Ms. Hill, just about the committee, as kids returning to school, you want to mention that?
Once students sign up for the virtual option, we do need them to stay there for a semester. It's hard to switch back and forth. We have made provisions if a student has an IEP and the IEP team says, this student is not being successful doing this, we need to switch, we can do that based off the IEP team recommendation. Same thing with the 504 team or the school's student intervention team. So there may be some shifting, but it will have to come through one of those teams because we can't have students just jumping back and forth. We don't have the teachers at the school to be able, for them to be able to come back to because we've assigned them to virtual. So we are going to give parents a chance in November to determine if they are going to stay with virtual or if they are going to come back to the school.
Beginning January.
For January, yes. So that would give us time to rework schedules and shift teachers around if we need to.
I understand that for sure. I hope the parents do as well, because I'm sure the schools, the buildings, they're filled right now, I would think.
Well, yeah, because
because
we've taken,
You've taken the
Teachers
teachers, so in
to
other
place
words,
them in
after 2
virtual.
weeks, I can't say I want to go back to the school because there's no room at the inn at the school
That's
right
right.
now.
That's
So
right.
I know they understand that. They've made their decision.
yes, and that was on everything that we published, that they had to stay for a semester. And now we've done everything we could. We put it out on Facebook, we put it out on the school websites, we put it on the calling
One call.
system, One Call. I mailed out letters. We tried very diligently to make sure parents understood when deadlines were and what they were signing up for. But we still have people calling every day saying, well, I didn't know. The only thing I can say to that is, please make sure your information in Skyward is correct, because we're getting letters returned back that it was an incorrect address, or the phone system's trying to call, but it's an incorrect phone number. And so parents have to constantly stay updated in Skyward to make sure they get the information that we need. And I'm not saying that's 100% of it. I mean, I don't know why parents wouldn't have gotten it.
It's probably a large amount. I mean, we'd probably be shocked because I know in the spring for myself, having to call students to work with them, the numbers that are given often are not numbers at work, and it presents, or addresses are not addresses. So, I mean, yeah, we probably did call them, but it was a number that's not working or not accurate.
Right.
People change phone numbers so much more often now than they used to.
Oh, yeah.
Cell phones and everything.
Yeah.
Or the school number's blocked. I mean, when I was working,
Yes.
it would be
Yeah,
blocked.
school numbers.
They don't want to hear from
Would
the
be blocked. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that they may not get it. But I agree with what you're saying is each action, there's a reaction that's going to take place. And when you start moving kids around like this will cause a chain of events that can't really happen until January.
Right. Well, just in the past 2 weeks, as we've been trying to pull out 600 students, out of each school's roster, we've had to completely rework the high school's master schedule and the central school's master schedule and the outlying schools, because they thought they had a certain amount of teachers for a certain amount of students, and now they don't. And so there are some schools that are having to make combo classes. There are some schools that, when we had to pull those teachers to do virtual, it changed everything about their plans for the coming school year. And so we just have to work together. Parents have to be patient with us. We are trying desperately to be understanding of parents and their situations. We're providing various options. We've even shifted some of the options to make them fit better for parents. But at this point, we've done everything we can do to be accommodating. Now, parents are going to have to be patient with us while we try to work out all these plans so that their students can receive an education.
So, Ms. Hill, if you had like a fourth grade class at a brick and mortar school, and then for some reason either COVID just generally gets bad or or that class has an outbreak. At that point, does that class then basically become a distance learning academy class? I mean, at that point, would that teacher start?
Not really.
Okay.
Yes, they will continue to teach virtually. So we won't call them virtual, the Distance Learning Academy, because just as soon as those 14 days are up, they're going to come right back. And so that's,
But during those 14 days, you'll continue it
yes,
virtually?
yes,
And with the same kind of principle, the children need to sign on in the morning and
yes,
teach them? Okay.
yes.
All right.
That'll be the nice aspect of the Canvas system.
Yes.
And the teachers are doing it every day in the classroom, so the students will be used to doing it. So if by chance they have to be quarantined or go home, they'll be used to doing it, and it'll be a everyday thing that they're used
Right.
to doing.
And if, God forbid, we had another situation where at spring break, they just went home for you really shouldn't, theoretically, you shouldn't miss a beat. I mean,
Right, that's right. The other thing is, if we happen to have teachers out, but not the class, especially you could have that at the high school and even middle school level, where you might have a teacher with a particular group of kids that may have to be quarantined, but the rest of those students would still continue to go to that class. We could have a sub come in to cover, but the teacher still provide the instruction from home.
So the kids could be in the classroom looking at a
That's
screen,
right.
watching the teacher.
That's right.
That's a
So you-
wonderful plan there.
Yeah.
That's,
So you could use a parapro or something, physically in the class watching the kids.
Right.
You really could do it even with like your younger classes, like third or fourth or fifth. The same
Well, yeah,
premise.
yeah, we definitely will. It's just usually in those classes, if the teacher has to be quarantined, it's probably going to be the students too.
Right, right.
So, all right, any other questions? I want to just say, I want to thank Isaac for everything he's doing. He is working night and day to try to help us pull this off with all this technology. And I want to just point that out and say thank you, Isaac, for all that you're doing. I know because he and I are emailing back and forth on the weekends and at night trying to get it all set up. So,
I'd like to thank you, Robin, for all that you do, along with everyone else, Isaac and all of your team, because I know it's a tremendous amount of work you're putting into it. We appreciate it.
And I will be getting this in the newspaper, all of it, and hopefully, more people will see it. But we've got to, other different means. I think this is one nice compact thing that they can see.
One thing about this, I mean, it's almost forcing us to do something in a rapid rate to get it done, but I think in the future, in the long run, it is going to be very beneficial to the district with just service delivery of how we look at providing services and how more explicit we could be for the whole class. And I mean, I think in the long run, this is going to be something that we're really going to like, but it's just trying to do something in a week.
It's painful now.
Yeah.
but
Yes.
But next year, it's
not
going to be
all- yeah, it's
even
not all
by
bad.
Christmas, I think it'll be a great thing. It's just the initial getting started.
Well, and I think even going out in the spring and having to do that really opened us up to being willing to try some other new
Yeah,
things.
because we all need to be on the same page with the service delivery that we're doing.
But that is, and I really hadn't thought about that, Robin, until you said it, but, if I'm signed up for virtual program in Madison County and then my family moves to another county,
Yep,
why do I need to switch schools?
you don't switch.
I mean, I can just stay with that same school, and the same thing for the other kids. Anyway, just very interesting, all the permutations that we had not had before.
All right, 5.4, personnel changes.
Good evening,
Dr. Blue.
everyone. Good
right.
evening, Brother
Good
Chair and
evening.
board members, attorney, superintendent. Ask for the board to approve item 5.4, personnel changes, please.
All right, do we have a
I'll
motion?
make the motion to approve the personnel changes.
Okay,
Second?
all right, a motion and second. There'll be a need for discussion. All in favor? Ms. Gibson?
Approve.
Mr. Alford?
Approved.
Ms. Williamson?
Approved.
Ms. Bell?
Approved.
And also approved 5-0. Personnel changes have been adopted.
Thank you.
All right, 5.5, permission to advertise the face mask policy.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Blue.
Yes, sir. I'm asking the board to permission to advertise face mask policy for 28 days, please.
Okay. And you stated for 28 days?
Yes, sir. It has to be.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve the face masks, advertising the face mask policy for 28 days.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and second. Would there be a need for discussion?
I would just like to have, for the people who are listening in, just some clarification on that, what it actually involves.
Yeah, and that would be
You know, just
great.
a little information.
If you could just kind of give a overview of what the policy is, because when people hear face mask and they hear policy, you know.
Yes, sir. All right, this is a face mask policy for when our employees enter the building, that they have to have a face mask covering on their face when they enter into the building. Also, this is for our kids who will be riding the bus. We're requesting that they have a face mask on for protection on the buses for.
Okay, so
Kids
basically
riding.
the requirement would be just on the bus only.
Yes, bus and our
And
employees
for the
coming into the
employees
building,
and
which we already
visitors.
have now, visitors too
Okay.
as well. We're just trying to be protective.
Okay.
Basically, the students are not required to have a face mask, but it may be encouraged if
We
if the parents.
strongly suggest
Right, it's-
that they wear it.
It'll
We
basically be up
strongly
to the parents.
suggest, but we can't.
Right, right.
I would want them to, but we can't do that.
Well, I think it's just important to clarify that for those
Yes.
who kind of got mixed
Strong.
feelings about it, so be strongly suggest or
Yes, sir.
recommend, not required,
Yes, sir.
for the record.
It's,
And we did give our employees a total, they'll get a total of 5 face masks, as you know, from the health department. And we also
More
want,
is needed.
yes, and we also want to clarify this, that they will not be punished if they don't bring their face mask to work. We will give them one. We will give them one, but they have to have one to come inside the building. That's what I want them to clarify.
I want a clarification, or try to help me remember. When Ms. Albritton spoke the night a few weeks ago, or here to the board, and I asked her what would make it where a teacher could stay if she was exposed. And didn't she say that the teacher would need to have a surgical mask and the shield?
You mean if someone in their room,
If
she
someone
was
in the
exposed?
room were to have it, because I asked her what would make it where
Okay.
a teacher wouldn't have to quarantine.
If they had a face cover, meaning a face mask, and they were not in close proximity more than 15 minutes,
Right.
and they were more than 6 feet apart. So that means basically you may have been in the classroom with a student. If the student was in the back of the room and the teacher was in the front of the room full time, the teacher had a face mask on and was, more than 6 feet away.
But
There-
didn't she say specifically that not a surgical mask?
I could not 100%
So I
vouch
thought
for
I
that
thought I
because these are the masks that they've
Right,
given us,
right.
and that's what we're using.
Right.
They didn't provide these, they
Right.
provided the cloth one, so.
That's what I mean, and maybe I just
We wanted-
remembering wrong, but.
When we first started hearing about masks, they were stressing surgical masks. But we're at the point, we cannot get
Right,
surgical
right.
masks.
No, I
And some of the
understand.
medical facilities can't get those masks
I
in a
understand.
timely manner. So
I
we've got
understand.
what we have.
That was just my only question.
Okay.
Because in the policy, it said, should not include surgical mask, or respirator, but I guess if an employee had their own, then that would be them. If they're wanting to furnish their own and they can get it, then
Yep.
That's right.
that's
We
them.
give them 5.
Yeah.
So,
And they wash very well, too.
yes, ma'am.
I
They
can
do.
testify.
They
Yes,
do.
ma'am.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones we have I think are the better to wear and having to wear out and about, the ones that we've been provided, because you can wash them and they're comfortable and maybe more so than the surgical, but I just wanted to clarify that. No, that's it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and even though it's not specifically spelled out in here, we also are providing face shields in addition to the mask for our staff members also,
If they want to use it?
if they want to use them.
Okay.
But they will have access to both.
All right. Not yet. Motion, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Approve.
All right.
Approve.
Ms. Williamson,
Approve.
Ms. Bell,
Approve.
and I also approve. So the face mask policy will be advertised for 28 days.
Thank you, Brother Chair and
Thank
Board.
you.
Thank you.
All right, superintendent items.
Superintendent items, got something a little off the grid this time. I've got a couple of emails lately, and a big concern of Madison County is that the U.S. Census. Okay, you know the U.S. Census is very important of the funding for the county as well as the school system. Right now, Madison County return rate is at 44%, 44.5% of the census. We need to encourage people to complete their census. They had hired people, and we were advertising for census workers, but they can't go knocking door to door, and so they are beefing up their efforts again. They are sending things in the mail, but we need to encourage the parents to complete those, adults to complete those census and return them. And we will be doing some more advertising about that. Next thing on last week we voted about facility usage, no facility use outside facility usage without the board's approval. Tri-County had asked for permission before, and they understand no facility usage, but they're wanting to use the parking lot to do some kind of drive-by thing, but they will not be entering into a building. And so, right now, I told them I would, wait for your directions, but I thought that you were thinking about it.
It's likely, they also asked the county to use their facility at the rec park, and it's for a staging area. It's where to put the trucks and all that kind of stuff that may be going down south or maybe going to, for the hurricane. So that's probably the same thing with us.
I think this is for their annual meeting.
You know, their annual.
They have their
I'm
annual
sorry.
meeting, they usually use our gym, but they're not asking for the inside. They want to be outside.
I'm sorry, okay.
Can you, high school parking lot, they're gonna have something drive by.
Because they usually give away a lot of goodies, and I think
Yeah,
they
yeah.
just kind of want to.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how they're gonna do it from the outside, but they do not, they understand they can't go on the inside. They just want it for the outside.
So y'all probably did need a motion in a second.
Okay. Do we have a motion? Have a motion for that?
I move to allow Tri-County to use our parking lot at Madison County High School.
Second.
Second.
Okay, properly moved and second. Would there be a need for discussion? All in favor, Ms. Gibson?
Approve.
Mr. Alford?
Approve.
Ms. Williamson?
Approve.
And Ms. Bell?
Approve.
And also approve 5-0. Tri-County has permission to use the facilities at the high school for the event.
Okay, another thing is that I have been in touch with this organization that will do complimentary COVID testing for our employees. I've got to vet the person in the group, but I think they're legit, and they are offered to do complimentary COVID testing with a 72-hour turnaround on the results. And they do the swab, they don't do the stick in the nose. Free of charge. Do I need approval for that? Because it will be coming on our campus. And they're gonna do it on the outside. I don't know when, I need, as soon as possible.
But is it during the school year, so while students are on campus?
For the faculty, I want to do it possibly next week or so.
I think as long as because obviously if they come on when the students are there, they have to be Jessica Lunsford Act screened, all that kind of stuff. If they're not charging, not using the budget, I think you can inform the school
Okay.
board unless somebody objects, then, you
Okay.
certainly.
If we have a teacher or an employee throughout the school year, could they go to that person to be screened?
I don't know, this group is out of Jacksonville. And this is just a PR they're doing. They normally charge, but they're not gonna charge me.
And we're not telling employees they have to do
No,
it. This is
no,
just something if they
it's a
want to.
service if they want to do
Yeah,
it.
I think that's
And they will not be
Wellness
going
fair.
in the building, they're outside, they're gonna do it in the parking lot.
Part of the wellness fair.
Yep. Okay, wanna follow your train of thought. The insurance, this is, I don't have anything definite for you, but the insurance company needs to meet because the rates are changing this year. For the individual, the rates are about the same, but the family, when you have dependents, it's changing drastically. And so I have been meeting with Kathy and Ben. Ben is the chairperson of the insurance committee. They will be meeting and getting something to you very soon.
Going up, increase in rates.
And just a good note, last week the newspaper had an introductory article about our new principals, Mr. Finley at the high school, Mr. Sneed at Greenville, and Mr. Williams at Central School. They had a nice article in the newspaper about them. And WCTV did some little spill on the football team last weekend. And our countywide meeting will be different this year. We're getting in the groove of things we're having a WebEx countywide meeting. And so we will have a countywide meeting. It will be WebEx. They can watch it from their desk, and for those that does not want to watch it from their desk, Mr. Goet is working again. He's setting up a viewing room in the gym at the high school. But the countywide will be at 9 o'clock this Thursday morning. Would y'all like to be sending an invitation to that so you can
That'd be
tune in?
nice.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, all right, Mr. Reeves.
No, sir, not unless you have questions of me.
All right, silenced. Said there are none. Ms. Gibson?
Well, I would just like to thank Mrs. Superintendent Joseph for all that you continue to do, and also Coach Coe and Mr. Finley for their events plan they came forth with. I think they've done as much as they could possibly do out there. Also, Mrs. Hill and her staff, and Isaac will put you in with Mrs. Hill. It's just a tremendous amount of work has gone into that. I can't, and I'm so impressed and I'm so thankful for what they do day in and day out to provide an education for these children. And I think by the looks of this plan, the 3 different options, you should be able to find something that you'll be satisfied with, I would think. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Alford.
I too want to thank Ms. Joseph and all her work in this ever-changing situation we're in, daily changing. Again, Ms. Hill and Mr. Goyette for what they're doing with the virtual platform. It's a lot to that, but I do think it's going to help us in big ways within the district to all be on the same page, and even in the future with being able to move forward and just the teachers being able to offer a lot more to the students. I had spoken to Ms. Joseph earlier about this, and she has, she clarified it somewhat. I had a concern from a parent concerning the isolation rooms at the schools in reference if they have a child who's chronically ill and it's documented with their doctor with, say, allergies or any type of stomach issue or any of the symptoms that could get you to the isolation room. And the question I was having and the mother had, and then it caused me to have, is if you chronically have allergies, and a lot of students in this area and teachers at this time of year or even year-round have it, initially the mother had thought if you do exhibit any of those symptoms, you would automatically be sent there. And I would hope that all of us in the district are using, as teachers in the classroom, like I was talking with Ms. Joseph, you can tell after the first day or two if someone chronically has something, and especially if you have the documentation, to use judgment that we would use if we're sending the student to the nurse sick. You have students in your classroom during the day and you know who's ill and you want those students to go. And I just hope we still use that sense of judgment and because I don't know that we have enough isolation rooms to send everybody who may have a runny nose that has a documented allergy and they're really not showing symptoms of being ill. And secondly, and I had spoken to Ms. Joseph about this, and I think she's reached out to the health department. There's been some concern with the temperature range that we've put at the 99.6. We received this past week a paper from the American Academy of Pediatrics who had recommended the 100.4. And as of prior to the meeting today, I spoke to one of the providers here at a pediatrician's office, and she said for them to recognize it as a fever, it has to be the 100.4. The 99, they really wouldn't even view as a fever. So and Ms. Joseph is working on that, but I just think that could be something that we could have a lot of people being sent to the doctor's office if they're showing up with that. And, you know, that's fine and good, but for parents who are having to pay co-pays and having to pay out of their pocket, that's school. I mean, if they're sick, they need to go to the doctor, but we don't need to be creating other means for them being sent when really the American Academy of Pediatrics is saying this one number, this higher number. But again, I go back to I appreciate everything that Ms. Joseph is doing. Of all my years on the board, we've never been through something like this. Never. And secondly, if you go back to, I mean, when I first came on the board, this puts it in perspective. There wasn't virtual school, there wasn't homeschool, and there wasn't charter school. And so basically this year we could ultimately be going full virtual. So the times have really changed, and I just appreciate having a superintendent and staff that are trying to stay up with it and trying to keep us above water, because we could easily be underwater right now if we wouldn't have had Ms. Joseph and Mr. Goyette and Ms. Hill and all the other principals, administrators here in the district working to try to pull this off. So I appreciate everything everyone's doing.
I'd like to make one comment about what you just said about the room, the isolation room. Are there guidelines set? I mean, as a teacher, I would like to have some specific guidelines. In other words, before I send a child, because I'll say, no, should I, this one,
We've got guidelines, they're oral, but we've got to write them down. We've got to make sure they're in place, but we're building this bicycle as we ride it, and we do not have them written down completely. But the nurse at Central School, Anna Dyke, she's going to sit down with us, and she's going to train the people that we have assigned to the isolation rooms about what proper procedures, because all of them are not registered nurses.
right.
And she's going to sit down with us. I'm going to write down some guidelines. We don't do anything individual around here because one person doesn't have it all, okay?
Right.
So I just need y'all to understand that. Okay, I may say I'm sometime, but I may say but they know I'm calling them in. Because
Right.
I need other people's perspectives, but we will be writing down guidelines and sharing them with the teachers and the school before August 24th.
Well, you're right, we've got plenty of time, but I just say I
We
think
don't
it would be
have
good.
plenty of time.
Well, I've got a couple weeks, let's put it that way,
Well,
but.
I mean, I do appreciate you being open-minded and working with the group because, I mean, you've been in the classroom. You know when a student is sick. And I mean, your gut can tell you if this person needs to go. And for us taking into account of conditions that someone may have, if they have a history of migraines and they're saying they have a headache, then I don't know that we need to send them to the isolation room. Or if they are having stomach problems and they have a history of irritable bowel syndrome, I don't know that we should be sending them to the I mean, I don't want to say use common sense, but if they have diagnoses that they're being treated for, we do need to use some common sense in our reactions to what they're coming up there for. And I appreciate you doing that with the staff.
Okay, one thing that Dr. Blue prepared today, and I didn't bring with him, but he's got a flow chart on if a staff member is diagnosed or suspected to be COVID. We've got a flow, and so we're in the process of putting a flow chart so they'll know exactly what to do and when to do it. And we're putting it in writing. We just haven't gotten around to all of them yet.
So that flow chart's gonna be, if there's a suspected staff member, and then are you gonna
This
have
is
another flow chart for
For
a
the
suspected
student,
student?
yes.
Okay, yeah, that
Each
sounds,
step, what you have to do, and so they don't have to, and we're gonna share with everyone when we get there,
Thank you.
okay?
I mean, I feel comfortable with what we're doing. I just, that was one thing that a parent had that concern, and once she said it, it did make sense. And especially if you're having to pay a $40 or $30 copay each time you go to the doctor, you can't be going up there every other day thinking that you have the COVID and paying the copay.
And one thing I need to tell the board, we're working with, we want to remain partners with the health department, okay? And we want to work with them and not make adversaries, enemies against them. So some things a little conversation will heal a lot, and that's but our problem is finding time to have these little conversations, because they're busy, we're busy, but we will have a meeting of the mind and work out a lot of these things
No,
in an amicable way.
I appreciate everything they're doing. I mean, that's just, I have concerns when, if we're sending children home, if we're saying that you have a fever and you need to go to the doctor, and a local provider is saying at this number, we're not going to view this as a fever, then,
We're gonna work on that.
it just looks,
Yep.
it appears funny that we're saying one thing I'm sure the doctor's office will thank us because they're getting a lot of money, but I don't know that, we should be doing that. But again, I appreciate everything the health department is doing, and I don't want it to appear that we're second guessing them, but just, I think a conversation, and you're having it with them, so I appreciate that.
All right, Ms. Williamson.
I just want to thank Ms. Joseph and everybody that worked for this district and all that they've done to make this all come together and be as effective as it can be for our children.
All right, Ms. Bell.
I would like to say thank you to Ms. Hill, Isaac, and all the administrators and staff for all their hard work. And I'm praying for a safe start for our school and staff this school year.
All right, and I would just wish everybody much safety and a wonderful school year. There's a lot of challenges, as we have seen. Even the coaches are having their set of challenges. The teachers are having their set of challenges. The parents. So there's challenges across the board. And so I commend everybody for a job well done of adjusting on the fly, so to speak. So with that said, we have a motion for adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor, Ms. Gibson?
Approve.
Mr. Alford?
Approve.
Ms. Williamson?
Approve.
Ms. Bell?
Approve.
And I also approve. 5-0, meeting adjourned.